Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, Dailymotion, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015, around 7:01 in the morning in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's a nice and sunny day to start off with, but it's going to change. More snow, rain, ice coming. Could be a few inches tonight and tomorrow morning. Some news to report. The Boston College men's basketball team beat Virginia Tech by a score of 66-59. And it's Happy National Pancakes Day in the United States. And the Red Sox spring training schedule starts today. They play a doubleheader against BC and Northeastern in exhibition games. And that's about it on that. My first subject of the day is about the history of the NCAA men's basketball tournament on television in the United States. The NCAA men's basketball tournament did not appear on TV at all until 1969, and at that time it was only the men's championship game was broadcast to NBC, and for a few years NBC just broadcast the national championship game, and the announcers were like Jim Simpson did the announcing for the games for the first few years. In 1972, NBC started to carry the nationally semifinals and some regional finals on a regional basis, and they added Kirk Gowdy to do the games, and Charlie Jones and Jim Simpson, and many of these games just were regionally televised. Many of the first round games were not televised at all back then. In 1973, NBC moved the Final Four and the National Championship game to a Saturday-Monday schedule on prime time, which was a big hit. In 1974, Billy Packard started to do color commentating on the NCAA men's basketball tournament for NBC, and NBC was starting to use carrying more like first round games and Sweet 16 and regional finals on kind of a regional basis, and they did it over a few weekend dates in the afternoons, and it was not having multiple announcers working different regions. It was the same announcers working Saturday and Sunday. It was Kirk Gowdy and Billy Packer working a couple of games on Saturday, and they would work another regional site on Sunday. And also they would have like Bryant Gumbel host the NCAA tournament in the studios in New York along with Lee Leonard, and also Dick Enberg started to do the regional games for the college basketball. And in 1978, NBC decided to broadcast the regional finals for the first time nationally, and they had it on Saturdays and Sundays, and it was the same announcing crews doing it Saturday and Sunday. I think Dick Enberg and like Jim Simpson did the Saturday regional finals and the Sunday regional finals, and also Dick Enberg started to become the #1 play-by-play announcer for the NCAA men's basketball for NBC. They were phasing Kirk Gowdy out, and NBC was continuing to do the regional finals and the Final Four for NBC into 1981, which they lost the rights to the NCAA tournament. In 1980, ESPN started to broadcast many of the first round games, but they sometimes would carry some live, some tape delayed, and they would do this for the next 10 years, eventually carrying the first and second round games live or tape delayed. And you gotta know, at this time ESPN only had just ESPN only. They didn't have ESPN2 or ESPNU or ESPN Classic or ESPN3, which was an online service when they carried the NCAA men's basketball tournament. In 1982, the broadcast rights of the NCAA basketball tournament went to CBS, and CBS carried mainly some of the first and second round games. Some of them they carried in prime time and overnight. and they also carried a lot of them during the weekends. They regionalized the Sweet 16, and also the Final Four. They kept it on a Saturday, Monday schedule, and they had Gary Bender as the number one, who did the Final Four and National League Championship game with Billy Packer. Brent Musburger was the host of the Final Four for the first 3 years. It was on CBS. Then by 1985, Brent Musburger took over as the number one play-by-play announcer of the NCAA men's basketball tournament, the championship game, and the Final Four. He did this for 6 years with Billy Packer until 1990, when he got fired by CBS on April Fool's Day. And by 1990, CBS signed a deal with the NCAA to carry the entire 64-team NCAA men's basketball tournament exclusively. They shut out ESPN, and CBS for the next 20 years carried the NCAA men's basketball tournament exclusively. And they would do this, they would be like the first 2 rounds they would do from Thursday to Sunday. They started at 12 noon on Thursday, and they would have an afternoon session and a evening session, and they would regionalize all the games. And sometimes they would regionalize them if it was at 4:50 in the afternoon. Many CBS stations broke for like their local news coverage or the CBS evening news. And the 4:50 one in the Eastern time zone was 1:50 in the West Coast. So just the West Coast CBS affiliates carried those games on Thursdays and Fridays during the first round, which got a lot of East Coast CBS affiliates mad, because there were sometimes teams that were located on the East Coast and their local stations could not show the games and stuff because of preempting for the news coverage, and it got a lot of fans mad at CBS affiliates in the East Coast because they couldn't show the games which they aired on the West Coast for the NCAA men's basketball tournament. And also at this time, for the first several years of it being exclusively for the first 2 rounds, Jim Nantz and Billy Packer, who did the play-by-play of the NCAA men's basketball tournament Final Four and championship game, were in the studio for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA men's basketball tournament, hosting it and doing the analyst. And by 1995, Jim Nantz and Billy Packer were like doing the first 2 round games at the sites, calling them, and they had Pat O'Brien host the NCAA men's basketball tournament for many years. By 1998, it was Greg Gumbel who was hosting the NCAA men's basketball tournament. And the regional coverage was helped in 1999 when DirecTV signed a deal to carry all of the NCAA men's basketball tournament games that were not shown on your local CBS station up to the Sweet 16. And also, usually the coverage of the NCAA basketball tournament games up to the Sweet 16, if your local CBS affiliate did not have like a college nearby, they could have like broke off from the game and showed the other games in progress and stuff like that. But if your CBS affiliate had a local college nearby that was participating in the NCAA tournament, but per contract, they had to show the game in its entirety with no cut-ins, no whip-around coverage, no nothing. And because that was part of the contract. And by the 2000s and stuff, the DirecTV thing was real popular with the NCAA men's basketball tournament up to the Sweet 16. But CBS was losing big-time money on the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Big time, because basically they couldn't get all the games on television in its entirety, all the games up to the Sweet 16. CBS did not had some cable affiliates at the time because they were owned by Viacom, but they weren't going to put like the games on MTV or VH1 or Nickelodeon, and they didn't have a cable sports network at this time, just to show all the games in its entirety. And even though the DirecTV thing was helping out a lot of people didn't have DirecTV, and they would have to go to sports bars to watch the NCAA games up to the Sweet 16. By 2000, CBS signed a long-term contract with the NCAA men's basketball tournament several times to carry the whole tournament, but by 2010, they had a deal to opt. The NCAA had a deal to opt out, and they did that. There was talk they were going to expand the tournament to have 128 teams, eliminating the NIT, and ESPN was real interested in that. But I heard something that ESPN, that the NBA and other sports leagues were very mad, because if ESPN got the NCAA men's basketball tournament, they would have added a preempt the NBA or other sports for a significant amount of time to carry the tournament, and they didn't like that. And CBS looked for a partner for them to carry all the games in its entirety for the whole tournament to see nationwide, and they signed a deal with Turner Sports along with CBS. CBS, TBS, TNT, and Court TV would show all the games in its entirety from the first four all the way to the national championship game. First time in history, and it was a 15-year contract which was signed in 2011 that deal took effect, and CBS was going to show the the regional finals, the Final Four, and the nationally televised game for the first 5 years of this contract. Then eventually it would have been phased over to TBS, which TBS and CBS would alternate the regional finals, Final Four, and the national championship game from 2016 to 2024. And this was a great deal, I think, in my opinion. You get to see all the games and stuff like that. Plus, in addition, CBS and Turner shares their talent on the NCAA basketball tournament. Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Marv Albert, Craig Sager, Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller, Grant Hill, Turner Sports, who work for the NBA coverage of Turner Sports on the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and also with the CBS personalities, Jim Nance, Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg, Vern Lundquist, Ian Eagle. They all are sharing in this. And next year, it's Turner Sports who is going to take over the Final Four. And I don't know if Jim Nance is going to be calling the Final Four in 2016 or every even year, because Turner Sports has the Final Four and the national championship game. They probably want their own announcer, so I wouldn't be surprised if Marv Albert calls a Final Four next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he calls a Final Four in the national championship game next year, because Turner Sports has the NCAA men's basketball tournament, Final Four, and national championship game. And we'll wait and see if that happens. And that's about it on that. Well, I'll be back. Facebook friends, YouTube followers, Daily Motion, Twitter. 2 more video blogs coming today. First one will be about former WWE superstar Doink the Clown gimmick in the WWE. And the third and final video blog of the night will be about Wendell Clark, former captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Coming soon to these video blogs. Subjects maybe in the pipeline for this week is the classic TV game show Jackpot, the trackless trolley routes 71, 72, 73, and 77A by the MBTA, the surviving ones from 1962 on, the South Park character Kenny McCormick, the Nasty Boys, the WCW Hotline, and many, many others, plus more personality profiles of Toronto Blue Jays and Toronto Maple Leafs players from the past, Dave Steve, Matt Sundin, Carlos Delgado, and Doug Gilmore. And next week is the March Madness personality profiles with people associated with college basketball, men's college basketball, and maybe Julie Blatton and Heidi Platt video blogs, 2 cute blondes with nice legs. Bye now. See ya. Have a good day. Facebook, YouTube, Daily Motion, Twitter. Bye.